Well, I was based in New Delhi between 2005 and mid-2008, and this was a period in which the world was really beating a path to India's door. India's calling card on the global stage was its extraordinary rates of economic growth during that period, averaging almost 9% at that time. And the period felt to me like a giant coming out party for India. It was a period of rapid globalization of Indian businesses, and a real rediscovery of India by the rest of the world. So it felt to me like a giant coming out party for the whole duration of my time there, basically. Well, engagement is taking place. India's trade with Europe and the US is growing rapidly. Taking trade between the UK and India, it hasn't entirely been a satisfactory development in some respects. The UK wants to become more relevant to India, not less. And over the last 10 years, it's been disappointing to see that the UK has fallen quite sharply down the rankings of India's trading partners. In 1998, we were India's second most important trading partner. In 2009, we'd fallen to being its 22nd most important trading partner. So clearly there's something gone wrong in terms of our trade relationship. And I think there are several explanations for that. Principally, our economic development hasn't been particularly complementary, respectively. India's been in great need of manufactured products, civil engineering, the types of things which will fill its infrastructure deficits, civil engineering. These are areas where the British economy could be more competitive. The areas where the British economy is most competitive, services, financial services, legal services, business services, accounting services, the Indian economy remains to a great extent closed to us. So a key objective for the UK is to reopen or to change the terms of trade somewhat so that we can have greater access to the Indian services market, and that our firms, particularly our legal firms and financial services firms, can help India with its own policy goals. In terms of financial services, that means increasing access to finance in Tier 3, Tier 4 cities. It means access to finance in rural areas. For legal services, it means enabling Indian firms to access in a one-stop shop all the legal services that they need to go out and globalize. The UK-India relationship is probably the broadest and deepest of any of the UK's bilateral relations outside of the European Union and with the United States. There is no other bilateral relationship to match the sort of the depth and the texture of the UK-India bilateral relationship. I think there is an immense determination on the part of the UK government to address what it regards as a period after the Second World War, when India was going through its phase of sort of Nehruvian socialism, when the two countries kind of disconnected for a certain period of time after 1947, during the Cold War. Post-1991, for reasons I explained earlier, we were not in the vanguard of the first sort of phase of India's post-reform economic development as a partner country. But I think now there is a great determination on the part of the UK government to put the UK back into the vanguard of India's economic development. And we saw that, for example, in the way Prime Minister David Cameron and Chancellor of the Exchequer George Osborne paid their first foreign visit to India in July 2010, within 10 weeks of arriving in Downing Street. That was the first overseas visit that they made as a government, and I think the timing of it, so soon after the general election, was a ample demonstration of their commitment to making India a real priority. So broadly, improving trade ties, concluding the EU-India FTA, that's an absolute priority for all sides. Specifically, there are areas of huge opportunity for the two countries to leverage each other's strengths in For example, education. The UK wants to participate in India's human resources revolution. There is a massive need to upgrade the skills base of people coming out of the Indian school and technical college system to make them able to participate fully in a global economy. The UK's universities and school system is world-class and I think has a huge scope to contribute to that process. So education is a big one.